Okay, this is part 10. This is a picture by Margaret Keane, and it's known as, she's the Big Eyes artist. There was a movie about it, Big Eyes. She's a redhead, of course. We have the redhead doctor, we have the Margaret Keane picture here, we have Big Eyes as Margaret Keane, and then we have a clever fan art picture here. I don't own this. I found it online and I cannot find it again. I don't know where it is. I don't know who the artist is, but it's pure genius. And here we have Stanley Kubrick with the big eyes. Okay, we have a Margaret Keane picture right here. We have a redhead. We have a Big Eyes photo here, a Big Eyes painting here that she did. Margaret Keane never got any credit for her work. Her husband stole it all from her. So they made a movie out of it, Big Eyes, and it's about how she proves in the end that she was the real artist that did all these pictures. But the point here is her angst comes through in her pictures. She was not happy. She was painting these things and getting no credit for them at all. And you can see in her work during this period that even though she's not talking about it, the feeling is coming through the painting. The same thing is happening in Kubrick's movies. He can't talk about the moon landings. He can't talk about, all the stuff he worked on. So this picture here is genius. It really, I don't know who did it, but go to their site and check out what other art they have. I can't find it, or I would give you a link to it. I hope somebody knows. Maybe they can supply it, and I'll put it in the bottom of the video. So this is Margaret Keane. This is a Margaret Keane picture. Here's the redhead doctor, bada bing. The beginning of The Shining is mirrored in the movie The Blade Runner. This is Blade Runner, and they're driving down the Sidewinder. This footage from the Sidewinder is the same as the footage in Blade Runner as the end of the movie. So the end of Blade Runner is a mirror of the beginning of The Shining. So keep that in mind. It comes back later. Here's a Thoical snow track, or a Thoical sprite. Keep that in mind. We're going to come back to that. Here's a birthday clue. This is a picture by Alex Colville of a terrier, woman and terrier. Here's See You Next Wednesday in Trading Places with Jamie Lee Curtis, born on November 22nd, the same day JFK dies, and she's Queen of Scream. She stars in Halloween, her first movie, with John Carpenter. So we had Scott Carpenter, we had John Carpenter, we had the astronauts on the moon use drills and hammers. So we have a little theme with Carpenters forming here. Interesting. We're not ready for that. Here's Rodney Dangerfield in the movie The Killing. He's hidden in the back here. It's hard to see. He's in the movie, though. He's born on November 22nd. This is a clever fan art thing. We have Woody Woodrow Wilson Strode, the first professional baseball player. So we have a Woody there. And we're looking for directors. So Woody Strode is a clue to the first black football player, but it's also a clue to Woody Allen, the director. So we're looking for directors in here. John Carpenter, Woody Strode, Woody Allen. Here's the duct tape in Apollo 13. This is a really great video. Imagine Dragons, Top of the World. There's like a 5 million Kubrickian breadcrumbs in this movie. We got a redhead right here. So if you ever get a chance, do a search for Imagine Dragons on Top of the World. We have the Roadrunner cars back here. We get the Beetle. We get the Mustang. We have Stan and Brick. It's Stanley Kubrick. So anyway, watch that video. It's fascinating. Here we have Jack Nicholson saying, Ullman is saying he put both barrels of a shotgun in his mouth. Well, the shotgun you're looking for is the L.C. Smith Corona shotgun. We have the Corona typewriter, the Corona Theater, the Corona New York. Let's go here. This is Von Braun on the moon set. It was fake. This is a key to Kubrick's allegory to how he's hiding this. Barry Nelson says, he killed his family with an axe and he stacked them neatly in one of the rooms of the West Wing. So he's cut his movie up into little tiny pieces and he stacked it neatly. That's what he did with his puzzle, sharp, dull, flat. Here's another redhead from Lolita. The Maltese Falcon. Isn't this the movie where you see the snow globe at the end of it? Here's a picture by, I believe, Katerina Kubrick, moon-gazing hair. So you draw your own conclusion. The moon is stuck on with a needle or a little pin up here. So that's interesting. There's only one pole. The shadows are wrong. This man's shadow is shorter than this man. The only way this can happen is if the light source is very close to them. Here's the log cabin in Laurel Canyon. This is where all the rock stars were born. All the military industrial kids, they went to this cabin. And then, Jim Morrison, unknown, becomes Jim Morrison, a rock star overnight. This is a good one here. I haven't really touched on this yet, but you can see the smoky colored bear carpet or smoky colored bear rug in front of the blazing fireplace. This would be the last place you would want to put a bear rug, because if an ember ever got into it, it would start on fire and burn up. So it's a little clue to Smokey the Bear. So we got, here's New Mexico's bird, the roadrunner. Smokey the Bear was found in Corona, New Mexico in the Lincoln Forest. Here's another redhead. This is Marie Windsor, Queen of B-Movie. She's a redhead. Sigourney Weaver's a redhead. It's what the old timers used to call cabin fever. We're talking about Laurel Canyon and the log cabin. So yeah, it was cabin fever. This is a clue in Austin Powers 2. We're looking for physical attributes. The guy with the big nose, the guy with the whatever your weird physical attribute is, it can become a category. In this case, he's pointing to his mole. Here's MJ-12, 12 Apollo missions, or 12 men land on the moon, 12 Olympians, or 12 Titans in the Battle of the Titans. It's always 12, 12, 12, 12. So you have Tranquility Base, Majestic 12. They're synonyms, majestic and tranquil. There's Ridley Scott. Scott, last name. And he's a redhead. Here's the Burns twins. And this picture is mimicked. This is a mimic of Diane Arbus's work. Diane Arbus was a photographer, and she took pictures of weird people and freaks and physical abnormalities. And she took a lot of pictures of twins. So keep that in mind. Diane Arbus and twins. And here's the Matador and the man with the golden gun, Jackie O's fashion designer designed this car. Oleg Cassini. The plane! Think about it. This is Trinity, the Trinity explosion on July 16th, 1945. Same day as the Apollo blast off of Apollo 11. You have Betsy von Furstenberg. This is a Kubrick expose in Look magazine. He takes the pictures of her. It's one of the clues that we're looking for first. Von Furstenberg's her name. She's a debutante that's from a rich family. Here's Kubrick's first picture he sells, April 13th, the day FDR dies. Here's Smokey the Bear from Corona, New Mexico, in the Lincoln Forest. He was rescued from a fire, so the forest rangers rescue him. Remember, it's the forest rangers. Remember I said that'd come back? So we have the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. This man is clearly psychopathic. Crazy as a March Hare, Looney Tunes. I'm going to make a list of them and put them under this video when I get done. But here's another one. He must have suffered some kind of complete mental breakdown. So there's another one. You saw this already, the shadows of the rock. This shadow is about a third shorter than this one. The only way you can have that is if the light source is very close. So we have the Jungian shadow. We have the dark side of the moon. This is a Frank Lloyd Wright house called the Ennis House. This piece of architecture is actually used in Blade Runner, the movie. So the Harrison Ford's apartment in Blade Runner is really the Ennis House. It's made from these Mayan-inspired blocks by Frank Lloyd Wright. And the weird thing about this is the Biltmore is made from these same exact blocks. Although the Biltmore was not designed by Frank Lloyd Wright, but it was made with his blocks. But the Ennis House was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright and made with the blocks. So other people may be using the blocks, and this is a little clue that other directors are using this language. We have, Disney's Masonic Club. He clearly did all the animations for. Now here's Disney and Von Braun. Here's Look magazine. Jackie Robinson. We have Jackie Robinson Day, number 42, a holiday. Jackie Robinson was a long jumper. Woody Strode was a high jumper. Here's the Smith Corona electric typewriter. There's also a Corona typewriter, but there's also a Smith Corona typewriter, just like there's a Smith, L.C. Smith Corona shotgun. Here's this is Scatman's Matador. And they're walking, at some points in this walk, they synchronize with the Beatles album. They all have their feet in the right position, and they're going across a crosswalk. So this is a little clue to Beatles, and also a little clue to JFK's car stop got edited out. This is a split second before a different shot, which I'm probably not going to be able to find right now. This is the Thiacal Sprite. Thiacal was founded by Jack Parsons Labs. Jack Parsons Labs, DeLorean, and Thiacal are all linked together. This is the guy that's in Doctor Strangelove. Oh, God, we can't think of his name right now. He's the guy that wanted to shoot everything and kill everybody, drop the bombs. We have Scott from Dr. Evil. He's a redhead. Smokey the Bear. Everything's smoking fires. Here's a Roadrunner. This is just like the blue Roadrunner that's in the Overlook parking lot. Here's the Overlook Ball. It's always balls. This is the ball, the party. Here's Tesla. Here's the guy that founds the Federal Reserve. He's like one of the Federal Reserve bankers. Like I said, Rob Ager does an expose on these pictures. And this guy right here in the center, right behind Jack, this guy right here is Woodrow Wilson as a young man. Here's one of Diane Arbus's pictures of twin freaks. Here's another picture. Oh my God, that's John Malkovich over here. So we have a Diane Arbus picture, and we have John Malkovich over here. John Malkovich was in Color Me Kubrick. So John Malkovich clearly knows this language. He's probably known it for decades. And so he does a little picture of twins here to let you know that he knows the language, and it's based on twins. And this is another clue to Diane Arbus. Diane Arbus dies July 26, 1971. July 26, 1971 was the day Apollo 15 lifted off. It was also Stanley Kubrick's 42nd birthday. So we have another 42. We have Diane Arbus knew Stanley Kubrick as a young man when he was coming up as a photographer for Look magazine. They befriended each other. They hung out. He learned a lot of things about taking photographs from her, and then she dies on the day Apollo 15 launches. How does she die? She slits her wrists in a bathtub, just like the old lady in the movie and in the book, The Shining. So this is a very clever thing. John Malkovich is clever, you know. So it's interesting. And also the woman in the young woman in the bathroom looks like a young Diane Arbus, which you'll see in a minute. I have a picture of her somewhere. Here's where he says the snowcat. It's not a snowcat. It says snow track right on the top of it, snow track. This is an active Fisher snow track, VW powered snow track. So this is a continuity error. He calls it a snowcat. So keep that in mind. That's the whole Tucker snowcat transient Antarctic crossing. Let's do this. Let's close this. Let's go to this. No, this is a Alex Colville painting called Boy and Dog in the St. John River. Joe DiMaggio was Mr. Coffee. Joe DiMaggio was also the Yankee Clipper. His wife was Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe was the first Playboy playmate. Marilyn Monroe was a redhead. She dyed her hair blonde. And also Marilyn Monroe is the Queen of Vegas. So we've got the Queen link. We've got the Joe DiMaggio. This would be Joe DiMaggio's Queen, would be Marilyn Monroe, their King and Queen. And he's the Yankee Clipper, which is a ship. And then we hear Blue Balls, Crabs, and a 7-Year Itch in Full Metal Jacket. 7-Year Itch is her movie. So we got a lot of Marilyn Monroe, Joe DiMaggio clues here. Joe DiMaggio is also the Sultan of, the Sultan of Swing. Okay, so remember that. Sultan of Swing, Joe DiMaggio, Mr. Coffee. Here's Diane Arbus. She looks amazing like the woman that was in the bathroom in the movie The Shining. So Diane Arbus dies the day Apollo 15 launches, which is Stanley Kubrick's 42nd birthday. She was friends with Stanley Kubrick. She hung out with him as a young man. He learned things about how to take photographs from her. They were friends. So how does she die? She slits her wrists in a bathtub. Okay, so, you know, it's pretty blatant when you see all the clues together. Here's one of her pictures of twins. So we have the Burns twins in the Shining. Well, this is a direct reference to Diane Arbus and her twins pictures. Here we have the 7 diamonds again. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look at this carefully, and you'll notice the 7 diamonds in it. We have the Apple records. Ringo is Apple in Chinese. We have Adam and Eve and the apple. We have the Adam's probe from Clockwork Orange. So this is a clever little thing here, the apple. This is Criterion Films. They carry all the old Kubrick movies. Coincidentally, their logo looks like the Corona Borealis and Shea Stadium. Here's the same carpet we're weaving. This is in the movie. So we see Kubrick standing by it. We see it in the movie. That's the redhead. Here's a Diane Arbus picture right here. This is one of our most famous ones. It's the one that's mimicked in The Shining. So she slits her wrists on the same day Apollo 15 launches. Apollo 15 is the 42nd birthday of Kubrick. It's one of his most alchemical missions. The lunar landing map for Apollo 15 is a potpourri of Kubrick breadcrumbs, is what it is, the map itself. Here we have a reference to vampirism. This is not the one and only, by the way. Here we have the Alan Parsons Project. This band is mentioned in Dr. Evil. And the reason it's mentioned is because the Alan Parsons Project did an album called The Gold Bug and Snake Eyes. So Snake Eyes is 1 and 2, just like the One-Eyed Jack. You've got The Gold Bug is Edgar Allan Poe's book. And this little window here is done in Frank Lloyd Wright style, stained glass window. You know, so that's pretty clever. Gotta like that. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Alan Parsons, but here we have Vivian Kubrick and her real-life son. And they're at the doctor's, and he has swollen glands. So this normally would be, oh, he needs a flu shot. So you do your own math on this. But, you know, I know what this means. This is not a dumb woman. She's very bright. The entire family is very bright and talented. So, you know, they're communicating the flu shot right here. So you had sickle cell, you had AIDS, you had, in Lolita, he dies of a heart attack. You know, you have the fluoride and the cancer. You know, One-Eyed Jacks, number 1. This is Betsy von Furstenberg. This is one of the exposés Kubrick does for Look magazine. So she's Betsy von Furstenberg. There's your clue. You're looking for firsts. Here's the smoky-colored bear rug next to the blazing fireplace. This is Smokey the Bear. He was rescued in Corona, New Mexico by forest rangers in the Lincoln Forest. Here's Nicole Kidman in the movie Fur, which is a movie about Diane Arbus. So Diane Arbus was a redhead as well. I didn't know that till this. So she shaves this guy down, and you know he's a freak. Here we have Shatner. You know, we had Scat Man and Shatner. Think about that for a little while. Here he is in his Star Trek Citroen car. Citroen is lemon in French. The Citroen is all over the movie Full Metal Jacket. There's like 25 Citroens in it. We're looking at Gus Grissom's lemon and the apple and the artichoke and the orange. And this is Burnell Tucker. So we have the Tucker Snowcat. We have Burnell Tucker. We have the hedge maze is 13 feet high. Here's the blue Roadrunner. Barry Nelson walks all the way up to this little driveway here, and there's a car about to hit him. And then at the last second, the car disappears, and when the shot cuts to the next scene, the car is gone. The car stop completely disappears. So we remember that we didn't see the car stop. Here's the next scene after that one. The little car that was about to run him over disappears, and let me see if there's another. I believe there's another shot of this as well. Here's the Beatles Sgt. Pepper's album. You really want to take a look at that. There's the smoky-colored bear carpet, Smokey the Bear smoking. The overlook burns down. The Burns twins, the fire axe. Danny wants to play with his fire truck. The matches story. You know, it goes on and on. Here's the Mayan blocks that Frank Lloyd Wright designs, and he makes the Biltmore and the Ennis house. Yeah, he's outlining a new writing project. It's called the Apollo Missions. Here's the shot. I don't know if you can see the car. The car's coming here, Barry Nelson is just about to get run over by the car. They cut the shot, and then the next scene, the car is gone. So it's a continuity error where the car disappears. So, what does this tell us? Barry Nelson is Kennedy. So the Zapruder film, they edited out the car stop. I don't know if you know this or not, but they had to edit out the car stop. It was too incriminating. You actually saw Greer, the driver, bring the car to a complete stop, and then they blow his head off. So they couldn't show that to the American public. So they waited till 1980 before you even saw it. And the only reason you saw it is because it leaked out. And so they edited out the car stuff. They removed frames. I don't know if Kubrick was involved in this, but clearly, with his experience, he would immediately notice that they removed frames from the Zapruder film. So the Zapruder film is not even a real representation of what happened that day. The car came to a complete stop and they shot him. This thing was such an inside job with the CIA and Johnson and, oh my God, is that a fake Sandy? Is that David Wheeler? No, that's not related to the flat Earth, but I just wanted to close that out. You got to keep regular, Miss Torrance. He's talking about eating prunes and figs and stuff. It's about suppositories and toilets and turds and Turgidson and pile. Here's another birthday clue. Marlon Brando's birthday on One-Eyed Jacks. Happy birthday. And it says, do not feed the director. Marlon's ego is pretty big. That's all I'm saying. Here's the blue book. It disappears. He killed his family with an axe. A Collins axe, the Collin chrome, shiny chrome, sharp, dull, flat axe that he uses. This is Barry Nelson. I want to point something out here, and I'm not going to get into it now, but I want to point something out here. This is a model of 3 conjoined hypercubes. So put that in the back of your head and think about it. Here's a clue to ghost stories, and she's a horror film and ghost story fanatic. So we need to look at horror films and ghost stories. When we find Jamie Lee Curtis is in her first movie, Halloween, the first day at the Overlook, Michael Collins' birthday. Michael Collins' daughter's birthday is October 31st. The day the Donner Party decides to make camp at Donner Pass was October 31st. So we're looking for ghost stories and horror movies. And clearly Halloween would be a horror movie. And it's done by John Carpenter. We already had Scott Carpenter. We had The Drill. We had The Hammer. We had The Feather, which is a pen. Here's another shot of he's about to get run over by this car, which you can barely see here. But this car's coming along pretty quick. He steps right in the road in front of it, and then the scene cuts, and then the next scene, the car's gone. Here's The Killing, the movie The Killing. Here's Criterion Films covering, they have the rights or whatever. It's about horses and horse racing and shooting red lightning and horseshoes and Tim Carey. Here's the movie Big Eyes, with the redhead actress. I can't think of her name right now, but she does the movie, and she's very sad when she does her Big Eyes pictures. Just like Kubrick never really got credit for anything. Here's Napoleon. He's a redhead. Here's the snow track. It's not a snowcat. This is our snowcat. Again, he incorrectly refers to it as a snowcat. It's not a Tucker snowcat. There's hidden mirroring in here. See this picture right here? And this picture right here, they're the same picture. See this picture right here and this one over here, they're the same picture. See this picture right here and this one over here, they're the same picture. So a little clue to hidden pairs. And the Colorado flag is another Corona. Right behind this thing that I copied on here, there's a 13 on the wall, which I'll show you in a minute here. I have another picture of it. Here's Miss Scott in the UFO TV series that stars Ed Bishop, a chess piece. Ed Bishop is the captain of the Pan Am Space Shuttle in 2001: A Space Odyssey. So remember this girl. She's a little clue. Playboy Playmate, White Rabbit. So here's the horror film addict, confirmed ghost story horror film addict. Here's a bear's clue to Smokey the Bear. There's 2 little bears here. The original bear was Smokey the Bear, and then when Smokey the Bear got old, they replaced him by another cub. So there's 2 Smokies now. Here's a Colorado flag. Right here on the wall, let me get this bigger. There's a poster with a 13 on it. So we have Apollo 13 launches at 1300 UTC. On April 13, it has an explosion at 1300 hours on April 13th. So it's 13, 13, 13, 13. You've got 3M is the 13th letter of the alphabet, 13, 13, 13. You got a 13 here. You've got a woman with a 13 jersey that walks in the front of the overlook in the beginning. The Sgt. Pepper's album, I'm telling you, go look at it. You're going to be blown away when you see how many people are on it and how many you already know. Vampirism. Here's Frank Poole shadow boxing, jabbing as he dances around the centrifuge. The real-life bullfighter before he became in this movie. Before he became an actor, he was a bullfighter. He's also the first guest star in the first Star Trek ever, where no man has gone before. Trading Places, see you next Wednesday poster behind her. Now, Jamie Lee Curtis is many things, but she is not flat. I will give her that. So there's a little clue we're looking for not flat. The astronaut dental, Crest and the astronauts, they're right in bed with each other. There's big eyes. Her work somehow picked up her emotions. They came through anyway. Here's Lou Gehrig, the first man to get Lou Gehrig's disease. He gives his last speech on July 4th, the same day as the Overlook Ball. And he started out in Columbia, just like the Columbia CSM, Columbia Pictures, District of Columbia. Here's Yeoman Colt. This was the first episode of Star Trek, but it got canceled. It got censored. So this is Yeoman Colt. We have the Mustang, we have the Pinto, we have Blackjack, Red Room, we have the Horseshoe, it goes on and on, all the horse clues. We have the Mare. So if the Mare is an older, Mare is a female horse, a Colt is a male horse, yet she's female and she's a redhead. So I'm just pointing this out. I'm not going to get into this yet because it's a whole video in itself, but just note that. Here's Kubrick with the big eyes. I love this picture. Somebody's got to tell me where this came from so I can send a thank you to them. And also, I'll put a link below this video to this site that has this picture because it's genius. He's giving you the Kubrick stare. He's saying, "Show me your war face." Here, oh my God! Look at the Thiacal sprite. Is in John Carpenter's The Thing on the South Pole. That's weird. Here's a reference to the Titanic. Barry Nelson tells her that, in a few hours it'll be like no one is here. And Wendy goes, like a ghost ship? Well, a ghost ship. The Titanic is certainly a ghost ship. And right here we have the 6 out of 7 cases of 7-Up, 6 out of 7 continents. 6 out of 7 Apollo missions land, yada yada. You should know this. There's Yeoman Colt, the redhead, and the first. Well, not the first. I'm going to get into that later. Here's Diane Arbus taking pictures of Mick Jagger, born the same day as Kubrick. He's a Rolling Stone. So we have the Blue Marble, the Jade Rabbit, the Rolling Stone, the Diamond. And I'm going to make a list of those so you can look at those. And there's the Wilson from Castaway. Isn't that interesting? Here's Kubrick's unmade movie, Swing with the Nazis. Joe DiMaggio is the Sultan of Swing. So you look at this and you go, Louis Armstrong, the Louis Armstrong Museum is in Corona, Flushing, Queens. And you had Neil Armstrong, the astronaut. Here's little Alex with his vampire teeth. In the movie The Shining, there's a scene where she comes up the stairs, and it mimics a famous movie called Nosferatu, which is a movie about vampires. We have the Saturn who ate all his children. We have the Donner Party, they ate their children. We have the soccer team that's in Stephen King's book, they ate their teammates. So we've got some cannibalism clues here. We've got the 3 little pigs are trying not to get eaten by the wolf. We've got the Hansel and Gretel are trying not to get eaten by the old witch. So we've got cannibalism and vampirism in here. So think about that. I'm not going to go into it now, but think about it. And that's the end of this video.